Hello, and welcome to episode 10 of Sleep Startle, a podcast by me, Maya Carlton. And I'm very happy that it's episode 10. I can't believe that I've actually done 10 episodes of this. And I'm sorry I took a little bit of a break for the holiday, but I'm back and writing new stories, and I think that this one is a fun one that you're really gonna like. Stick around to the end and hear the explanation to this story, because I also think that's quite fun. So let's get started. Tarot. The day droned on with an incessant tick of the wall clock overhead. It bothered Ebony. She felt the need to scream, but a scream would be quite out of place in her small, bland office. She sat twirling a curl on her finger, waiting for the clock to strike 3, for her long car ride home, and for the 8-flight journey to her apartment door. She watched as the seconds creeped their way around the circle, pulling up the time card to punch out another day as Ellie's finest real estate associate. Ebony's car was old and frail, hardly making the 20-mile journey to and from work every day. Someday, she thought, her picture would be on billboards. She would sell the multi-million-dollar houses in the hills. But for now, she sat on the 405, headed for Long Beach. She had just enough money to live in a marginally nice area, albeit some basic necessities, such as an elevator, but it beats living with her parents, so she made the most out of it. She lived with her 2 cats, Wilmore and Gus, the cutest pair to walk the earth, although they could probably be a bit more cuddly. Ebony was lonely, and on this day, it was hitting her especially hard. As she rounded the top of the never-ending flights of stairs, there was an odd sight peeking out from the corner of the hallway, a metal frame with 4 solid black wheels. It was a grocery store shopping cart. It was intriguing enough that Ebony got closer to inspect it. Now, a shopping cart is fairly ordinary, but someone had carried it up 8 flights of stairs, and that was puzzling. It was empty, with only a small placard on the front. It held a cardboard ad for a real estate agency, the one Ebony dreamed of working for. She chuckled. The universe had a way of fucking with her mental state, that was for sure. She slightly pushed the cart closer to the wall, parallel parking it as if on a busy street, and made her way down the long hallway to her door. A steady rainfall wakes Ebony to a new day. She's woken up before her alarm. Maybe, she thought to herself, she would take a run around the block. She walked out her door, closing it behind her, not looking forward but at the key slot, when a pain overcame her knee. It buckled and she winced, whipping her head to see what had caused it. A gray mass of bars greeted her, the shopping cart, perfectly placed in front of her door. She was angry more than anything. A neighbor must have been messing around and left it there. She shoved it as hard as she could down the hallway until it collided with the wall and clamored to a stop. She made her escape then, before someone exited their door to find out what the commotion was at 5 a.m. There was a small park close to her building, and although many homeless populated it throughout the night, Ebony felt relatively safe. She knew some of them by name, handing out sandwiches when she could. She enjoyed helping others, and hoped they would do the same for her. The sun still hadn't risen from its gloomy hiding place. The park was lit with incandescent sodium bulbs, casting an orange glow over the rough asphalt pathway. She made her way around the park once and began her second lap, when an odd sight brought her to a halt. A shopping cart sat in the middle of the path she had just ran through. She would have noticed it the first time. It had appeared out of thin air. And although there were many explanations as to how it could have gotten there, with a substantial amount of homeless population lining the benches, no one stirred. They still slept peacefully in the morning light. And there was an odd resemblance to the cart she'd seen before. One piece of the front bars was forced upwards. Ebony began to feel anxious, afraid of a shopping cart. How stupid, she thought, but still raced home and up the stairs faster than she ever had before, and when she rounded the corner, there was the cart, not shoved down the hallway as it had been an hour before, but delicately placed in front of her door, a bar protruding from the front like a javelin in a jousting match. She shoved it again, harder this time. She wanted it gone for good. She got dressed for work. With the time the morning commute would take her, she was almost late, but she waited, hand on the front door handle, fear racing through her. But for what? A shopping cart? Someone was surely messing with her. Maybe the teenager in 821. He always had it out for her. This was a suiting explanation, and she turned the handle to leave. And to her surprise, there was no cart in the hall. She walked up and down the whole thing, to be sure, but it truly was gone. Out of sight, out of mind. Ebony liked to listen to loud rock music in the mornings. It gave her a boost of life, returning to her lifeless job. It made the time pass quickly, but today she was flying on the freeway. There was little to no cars, which was odd for a Tuesday at 7 a.m., but she wasn't complaining. She threw her head back and sang along to the lyrics of her favorite song. She closed her eyes, belting out the high notes, and as she brought them back to the road, time stood still. A shopping cart with a metal bar sticking out of the front was sitting perfectly in the lane before her. She could make out the small cardboard sign for the Johnson Real Estate Agency. She had no time to react, or swerve. Just a small gasp escaped her lips as her car battled the cart. Who's to say who won the battle between Ebony and the shopping cart of destiny? The result was a tangled mass of metal and blood. Maybe if she had saved for a better car or a closer house, then this wouldn't have happened. But she had been dealt the tarot card of death and destiny, and upon it stood a lone shopping cart, somehow pushed onto the freeway. Well, there you have it. Your horror story, if you want to call it that, for the week. I think this one's a little bit silly, but also, it kind of happened to me. I know that sounds crazy. I know what you're thinking. Shopping carts don't follow anybody. But let me tell you, there is a shopping cart in my apartment building that follows me. Or someone's messing with me. It's not as crazy as it seems in this story. It definitely doesn't follow me onto the freeway. But this all started from a day when I walked out of my elevator and there was a shopping cart placed perfectly outside of it. And I thought, well, someone brought this shopping cart up there. The maintenance people in our building actually use shopping carts as their maintenance carts. So I just thought, oh, they just left it here. They were doing renovations. It all made sense, right? But it was empty. And so I was like, why would they just leave it, And so me and my boyfriend thought, about taking it and how it would be funny if we had a shopping cart. But we didn't. We left it in front of the elevator. And then, I don't know, it had sat there for at least 3 days. And then one day it was actually in front of my door, parked out there. And he didn't bring it over. I didn't bring it over. It was just sitting right next to my front door. And I thought it was weird because we had joked about taking it. And when we did, it was right in front of my door. So I ended up bringing it inside, and I had it on my porch for a long time. I wanted to transform it, and then it just ended up accumulating dead plants because I kill all my plants. But anyways, I finally got rid of it. I brought it downstairs to our dumpster. I got rid of all the stuff inside it, and then I brought it downstairs because I thought, well, if the maintenance people want it, then they can have it. And so for a long time, it wasn't in the hallway. It was down at the dumpster where I had taken it to. And then just the other day, it's in the hallway again. It's upstairs in just one of the big square common areas. And it's just sitting there. And today, as I walked through, it was gone again. So it's the mysterious case of the shopping cart at Nobel Court. So I think it's kind of funny to write a story about the horror of that, because it gives me anxiety that this shopping cart is just following around my apartment complex. So I hope you stuck around and heard this story. I think it's pretty funny. Follow me on my socials at m.x.andra. That's my Instagram. I said I would make a Twitter. I'm not very good at tweeting though, so maybe I would never use it. I also have a Patreon at the Sleep Startle, which I always say I'm going to get going, and it does have tiers, but I need to learn more about how Patreon works, because I'd love to be able to interact with you guys and have you support the podcast. So thanks for listening, and I hope to hear from you soon.